Hello everybody, Tim Knight here, and I must say the SpaceX video that we did a week or so ago has been far and away the most popular video that I've ever done by many orders of magnitude. And there's more to say about SpaceX, a lot more, because in the last video we really talked about prior IPOs that were really hot and how do they behave and does that inform our guess as to what SpaceX is going to do. This video is going to be directly about SpaceX, not comparisons, but directly about it in terms of, well, dates really, and restrictions, things that are good for the stock and bad for the stock. And I'm going to employ this very high-tech device, a calendar, because that's probably one of the most important elements in the entire SpaceX journey that's ahead. And I'm recording this on Monday of IPO week. So the stock comes public. There's 3 more trading days, and then Friday is the big day. You may be watching this in the year 2030 for all I know, just to kind of see how things panned out. But just to set a basis as to the day I'm talking, and the stock isn't real yet. It's spending. So what I want to do by thumbing through this calendar is hit upon the key dates that are both good and bad for the stock. Now, first, I want to get out of the way a few positives and a few negatives about the stock. First positive is that there's not much stock out there. Now, it's a huge IPO, 1.75 trillion or so, but the amount of that float is going to be less than 5%. So over 95% of the company is still going to be like locked up. And so the public doesn't have much to play with. And so you know the old thing about supply and demand, there's not a whole lot of supply. So by its nature, that's going to help prop up the price. The other thing, as I'm sure you've heard about a lot, is that they've changed the rules so that the NASDAQ 100 and the Russell 1000 can include this in their family of stocks very quickly. The Russell 1000 in the first 5 days, and the NASDAQ 100, we call it the cubes or the QQQ, in the first 15 days. That means for the first couple of trading weeks after the stock comes public, there's going to be all this forced buying going on. It was also going to be the S&P 500, but they changed that, so it's not going to be quite as quick. And the other element is that, as you've certainly heard, retail investors, small investors, at places like Schwab and Fidelity, I think, and other places, they are going to be allowed to buy the stock, whatever they're allotted. Everyone's put in their request and they're waiting anxiously to see how much they get, if anything. And that's going to be a big part of the public offering. But that chunk, which is about 30% of the IPO, is kind of restricted for the first couple of weeks also. I say kind of because if a retail investor, is lucky enough to get shares from their brokerage, they can technically sell it immediately. So the stock is slated to go out at 135. Let's say that it opens at 300 and somebody just sells it all at 300. They can do that. It's not necessarily a good thing from the brokerage standpoint because they're required to be like, all right, mister, you can't participate in any more IPOs for the next 6 months. Or something like that. The penalties will vary. It's not, you're going to go to jail or something, but there's going to be some damage to your trading privileges in that respect. So some portion, maybe even most people, will hesitate to sell until they're finally allowed to sell, which I think is going to be June 27, that they can flip the shares without getting a penalty. But those are sort of the positives. On the negative side, is it really expensive? Offering. I think I heard today that if, say, Google, which is not a cheap company, if Google was priced with the same metric in terms of sales to price as SpaceX, they would be a $45 trillion company all by themselves. So that kind of puts it in perspective. Also, there have been a lot of big headlines about agreements from, say, Anthropic and Google about paying all kinds of money to SpaceX, more specifically XAI because of Colossus, that generate great revenue for them and high margin revenue. But it's not like, okay, this is a 10-year ironclad agreement that they can't get out of. No, the quip I heard is that they're more easy outs in these contracts than a kid's t-ball game. They're very easy to break. And so they could, these companies that are paying all this money for access to the Colossus data center could break them without any real penalty. And the other thing is that there's some measure of financial engineering involved here. For example, SpaceX arranged for a $20 billion bridge loan to dispatch with some high interest debt Elon had incurred for his acquisitions earlier. And that's smart because he's cutting interest payments by half by getting lower interest debt. However, all that debt has to be retired in 6 months after the IPO by way of those IPO proceeds. Another way to think about this is that the public is going to put in this case, like $20 billion, that is going to just evaporate for debt retirement and not go to the capital of the company they're investing in. So just saying. But let's talk about those dates. And I'm going to use my cheat sheet here, my birdie calendar, to thumb through these and just kind of talk about these one by one. There aren't too many of them, but the general gist you need to understand is that over the course of time, between the June 12th IPO and about middle December, more and more and more shares get released. So at first it's very, very tight. And very few people can actually sell shares. But over the course of time, it gets a little easier and easier. And by the time mid-December rolls around, pretty much everyone except for Elon can sell stock freely. So June 12th is the IPO. And probably later the week that follows, the 17th, 18th, somewhere in there, options will begin trading on it. And through this time, as I mentioned, Russell and NASDAQ will be gobbling up shares, which will help demand. And around the 26th, 2 weeks after the IPO, that stops. That forced buying stops. They're done with that. So that'll diminish that kind of forced buying pressure to help prop the price up. And then on the following Monday, the 29th of June, the public, just Joe average investor, is at liberty to sell whatever the shares they bought without any kind of penalty from their brokerage. And like I said, some people will sell. They'll just say like, well, I'm not interested in any other IPOs. I don't care. But everyone will be at liberty to do it without a second thought at that point. Now, the first chunk of time that's going to be a real hit comes around in August. Now, there's no earnings date yet, of course. There's those haven't been set to my knowledge. But shortly after the first earnings report, which will probably be sometime early in August, a huge chunk of stock comes through, about 20%. And if the stock does well, if the stock is trading 30% or more above the IPO price, not just 20% becomes free, but 30% comes free. So it's kind of an incentive built in to allow insiders to sell even more if the stock's done quite well for itself. So that's around August 11. As I say, we fine-tune that based upon the actual earnings date, but very close to that. And then shortly thereafter, on the 21st of August, another 7% comes free. And the 7% comes again and again and again. Again, another one September 10, another one on September 25, another one on October 12, and on October 26. And as you might guess, there's another earnings report. So you get, quarter ends in June, so they'll report maybe early in August. The quarter ends the end of September. Report maybe early in November. And that's another big chunk, about 28% there as well. And then the final release, and frankly, by that November date, that's virtually all of the releasing. And the final little tidbits are going to be around December 9. And then that's it. As I say, Elon's the only sort of like person foreclosed from doing the selling. So in sum, the price positives, tight supply, forced buying, the initial zeal and enthusiasm and excitement and chatter, especially if it does well, because it kind of feeds on itself, That'll last a couple of weeks, but by that last week of June, by around June 27 or so, it's probably going to kind of peter out by then. And then there's going to be a succession of fewer and fewer restrictions on selling. And of course, it's also at the mercy of, like, how do those quarterly reports go? And all sorts of other circumstances, not the least of which is how the market in general is doing. So that's kind of a temporal roadmap for you. And I hope it's helpful, and good luck out there. Bye-bye.